My dear friends, here's a question that might sting. How many of you are quietly breaking right now because you refuse to walk away? You absorbed disrespect because you craved peace. You accepted manipulation because you feared conflict. You swallowed emotional pain because you loved someone. You kept draining people close because losing them terrified you. But while protecting everyone else, you never noticed the one person disappearing, you. Today, we are going to confront something brutally real. Why do we keep accepting the things that destroy us? And how do we finally break free? Because life doesn't transform when circumstances shift. Life transforms when your tolerance threshold shifts. My friends, let me tell you something that changes everything. Your life is not defined by what people do to you. Your life is shaped by what you permit. If you permit disrespect, it becomes standard. If you permit manipulation, it becomes expected. If you permit emotional pressure, it becomes your reality. If you permit mistreatment, it becomes your story. Just like a hairline crack in a wall eventually brings down the entire structure, small repeated acts of disrespect gradually destroy your confidence, your peace, and your sense of worth. We tell ourselves, I'm being flexible, I'm being the bigger person, I'm avoiding unnecessary drama, I'm staying patient. I believe they'll change. But my friends, flexibility only serves you when it doesn't suffocate your inner peace. Let me offer you something important. There are two categories of pain in this life. One, pain that pushes you forward. Two, pain that slowly hollows you out. The second variety almost always comes from what you tolerate. And when you tolerate the wrong things, you exhaust yourself fighting battles that were never yours. So today, with a courageous heart and a sharper mind, let's name exactly what you must refuse to accept from anyone. Family, friends, partner, employer, colleagues, strangers, anyone at all. Not through bitterness, not through ego, not through vengeance, but through clarity, inner strength, and unshakable self respect. My dear friends, absorb this carefully. Respect is not a reward, it is not something extra. Respect is the foundation. You don't earn respect through age. You don't earn respect through age. You don't earn respect through position. You don't earn respect through wealth, tech, through wealth. You earn respect through character. And our greatest error is believing that if I stay silent, they'll eventually realize. If I keep bending, they'll finally appreciate me. If I overlook it, things will naturally improve. Let me deliver the truth gently but powerfully. Disrespect doesn't shrink when you tolerate it. It multiplies. Picture a child throwing a tantrum. If a parent surrenders, stays quiet and absorbs it, the child learns one critical lesson. Tantrums produce results. Adults operate identically. When they observe you quietly swallowing disrespect, they draw one conclusion. I can repeat this without consequence. Let me offer you a story. A professor once positioned a chair at the center of his classroom and declared, whoever lifts this chair and carries it around the room earns bonus marks. Students lunged forward immediately. Some strained with effort, some tried creative positions, but nobody succeeded. They asked, Professor, why is this impossible? He smiled and answered, because the chair is bolted to the floor. Then he delivered a devastating line. Some of you are attempting to lift relationships that are bolted to disrespect. Regardless of your effort, no relationship moves forward when one side is anchored in arrogance, ego, or contempt. My friends, disrespect is never accidental. It is a pattern. It is rarely unplanned. It is typically habitual. And understand this clearly. Every time you let disrespect pass unchallenged, you diminish your worth in that person's perception. Not because you lack value, but because you taught them you'll absorb anything. The most powerful response to chronic disrespect isn't rage. It is withdrawal. It is silence. It is boundaries. Not theatrical boundaries, not aggressive declarations. Quiet, firm, unwavering boundaries. When someone disrespects you repeatedly, stop standing there defending your value. Move towards spaces where your value is naturally recognized, never debated. My friends, among the most destructive things we silently accept is manipulation. Manipulation isn't always thunderous. Sometimes it arrives softly, sometimes wearing the face of genuine concern. Sometimes disguised as love itself. Manipulation wears many disguises. Guilt-tripping, emotional blackmail, distorting your words, making you responsible for their emotional state, punishing you for establishing boundaries, labeling you selfish for protecting your peace. Let me say this without ambiguity. People who genuinely love you will encourage you, never guilt you. They will support you, never smother you. They will elevate you. never diminish you. Manipulators operate with frightening precision. They catalog your kindness. They weaponize your compassion. They transform your loyalty into their instrument of control. They convert your heart into something they operate remotely. And the cruelest part, you begin accepting that you are the problem. You begin doubting your own perception. You begin apologizing for offenses you never committed. You begin losing faith in your own judgment. You begin compressing your entire personality simply to maintain someone else's comfort. Let me share a story. A wise teacher once held a puppet before his students and moved it using strings, then asked, "What are you observing?" They responded, "A puppet that's dancing." He smiled and replied, "You see the dance, but understand this, the puppet never truly dances. The strings dance, the puppet merely follows." Then he continued, "This is exactly how manipulation operates. You believe you're moving freely, while someone invisible controls every motion. My friends, you were not created to be managed by others. You were not designed to be reshaped into someone else's convenience. You were not built to carry emotional weight that belongs to someone else. Remember, a person who genuinely values you will never demand that you dissolve yourself just to remain near them. If someone sincerely cares, they won't feel threatened by your independence. They won't feel threatened by your boundaries. They won't feel threatened by your evolution. They won't feel threatened by your voice. Only manipulators feel threatened by these things because your clarity dismantles their control. So, refuse to tolerate manipulation any further. The moment you sever those strings, you stop being a puppet and reclaim yourself as a person. Now, my friends, let's descend into something even more profound. The most dangerous tolerance isn't what you absorb from others. It's what you accept from yourself. We routinely say yes to everyone while whispering no to our own souls. We surrender our rest, our aspirations, our emotional reserves simply to avoid letting others down. You remain awake for someone who sleeps soundly through your sacrifice. You shatter yourself for someone who never bends a fraction for you. You carry people who never once helped carry you. You endure exhaustion. You endure emotional depletion. You endure inner emptiness. You endure relentless overthinking. You tolerate self-abandonment while calling it selflessness toward others. My dear friends, you cannot endlessly pour from a vessel that's already empty. Let me share a story. A gardener maintained two separate gardens. One he nourished without fail every single day. The second he neglected completely. Two consumed helping neighbors tend theirs. One afternoon, a passing traveler asked, "Why does your personal garden look withered and lifeless?" The gardener responded, "I simply had no time. Everyone else's gardens needed me." The traveler paused and replied, "Friend, a gardener who neglects his own garden cannot genuinely sustain any other." My friends, you are that neglected garden. You cannot flourish if you're irrigating the entire world while allowing yourself to wither. Stop tolerating self-abandonment, overloading your mind, dismissing your mental health, suppressing your needs, suffering through your pain in silence, and placing yourself permanently at the bottom of your own priorities. Let me offer you something extraordinarily powerful. Being generous to others is admirable, but being nurturing toward yourself is non-negotiable. You demonstrate to others how to treat you through how you treat yourself. When you honor yourself, others learn to honor your presence. When you protect your peace, others learn to respect your space. When you enforce boundaries internally, others learn to recognize your limits. Your peace is solely your responsibility. Your energy is solely your responsibility. Your mental health is solely your responsibility. Stop accepting situations that drain your vitality. Stop accepting people who exhaust your spirit. Stop accepting habits that slowly consume you because the world reflects back the standards you establish for yourself. My friends, forgiveness is sacred. Forgiveness is genuine power. Forgiveness is liberation. But absorb this distinction carefully. Forgiveness does not obligate you to remain where pain keeps finding you. You can release someone completely and still remove them from your daily existence. You can carry deep love for someone and still consciously choose distance. You can genuinely wish someone peace while actively shielding your own. Some individuals never transform because transformation holds no appeal for them. Some never transform because they perceive no compelling reason. Some never transform because you never transform your tolerance for their behavior. Let me offer one final story. A young man repeatedly burned his hand on a candle's flame. He approached an elder monk and asked, "Why does it wound me every single time?" The monk replied with gentle certainty, "My son, the flame carries one nature, to burn. Your hand carries one nature, to register pain. If you repeatedly approach fire, don't resent the fire for its heat." The monk then added, "Forgiveness may reduce the emotional pain, but only distance eliminates it. My friends, pain instructs you the first encounter, but recurring pain signals that the instruction hasn't landed yet. Your heart carries immense worth. Your life carries profound meaning. Your time is irreplaceable. Your peace is beyond calculation. Stop spending these treasures on wounds that keep reopening. Stop remaining in places where you gradually crumble. Stop accepting cycles engineered to diminish you. You can remain compassionate, you can remain tender, you can remain forgiving, and still deliberately walk away from whatever keeps hurting you. My dear friends, life becomes extraordinary the instant you absorb this singular truth. You cannot govern people, but you absolutely govern what you permit. When you refuse disrespect, you naturally attract genuine respect. When you refuse manipulation, you naturally attract authentic love. When you refuse self-abandonment, you naturally attract real growth. When you refuse repeated wounds, you naturally attract true healing. You are not placed on this earth to be treated as less than you are. You are not born to be steered by the hands of others. You are not created to suffer in deliberate silence. You are not fashioned to compress your entire being for someone else's ease. Elevate your standards. Elevate your boundaries. Elevate your self-respect. Not wearing arrogance, but carrying clarity. Not driven by ego, but anchored in dignity. Not fueled by anger, but guided by wisdom. Remember, my friends, you are the instructor who teaches others how to treat you. And the precise moment you stop tolerating what diminishes you, everything worthy of you will finally arrive. Refuse to tolerate it from anyone. Not anymore. Not anymore. Not ever again.